Have you checked the children? Your little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Greetings, Fright fans, and welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Jaime Fuego.
I'm Cecil Laird.
And we are back to do another patron review, and this is kind of a long overdue one because of the fact that our buddy Sam Glass, much love to you, sir, and, obviously, hope you are, healing and, going through all of said procedures and such. Well, we love you, man, and we're talking about The Special, which is a film that I remember him and I kind of discussing a few years ago when it was initially released, and some people hated it, some people loved it. I was actually in the latter, but more so than anything because of how the film concludes. But, without spoiling anything, I am very curious because of the fact that I've watched this a couple times now, and Cecil had a first-time watch. Mm-hmm. It's not a perfect film by any way, shape, or form. My overall thoughts, the payoff is where this film really earns its recognition, at least for me. But everything else, I don't know. What did you think?
This film was approximately 80 minutes long.
Yeah, it's
right?
very short. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This film was approximately 65 minutes too long.
It should have been a short in your estimation.
Yes, this film would have been perfect as a 15-minute short. I mean, that's all that mattered was the beginning. It was the setup and the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Because the meandering in the middle is
it is so extensive and slow.
Yeah.
It's so slow, that middle hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or no, hour, right? Yeah. It's 20 minutes of good. It's an hour and 20 minutes total. Great, a good 5-minute opening, and then, it actually takes them like 20 minutes to get to where the film should go in the first 10 minutes, and then it takes, even longer to get where the film should go in the next 5 minutes. So it's really a shame, because the premise is simple and effective enough, right? Yeah. But not effective enough to make me want to spend an hour and 20 minutes with it.
I feel it.
Because it's just so drawn out. And again, you could achieve this in 15 minutes, and have a really fantastic lean and mean 15-minute short film that would play all the festivals. This just does not do it for me. Although they have a Shudder release, and more power to them, I'm sure. I don't know very much.
Although a delayed acquisition, though, this is a movie that was kind of a grassroots sort of situation people were talking about, and then it was eventually acquired.
Sure, but I still don't know of any other glory hole horror movies out there. You know what I mean? So
we love you, Sam Glass. We know that was the recommendation.
That's
funny.
That in and of itself makes it unique amongst most of what we covered on the channel. So I understand the desire to cover it, but ultimately, it just fell flat for what it was. The same thing is,
I disagree.
I was really hoping for something great with Rubber, and I got something super annoying and problematic and overly indulgent and overly in love with itself, and I really didn't like the movie. It wasn't all of that, but it just wasn't worth an hour and 20 minutes by any stretch.
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, it's most definitely a analogy and allegory, obviously, for drug addiction and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and that's what I kind of got, especially on the second viewing of it. And yet, like all of the harm which is done in that middle act, to those that you love, whether it's your boss, whether it's your significant other, all that sort of stuff.
Your best friend.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely drags like a mofo in that middle act, though, unfortunately. But yet, I feel like it had to be there because you had to see the collateral damage of an obsession. And so I'm into this movie, man. But once again, it's really about the initial setup and the payoff, which I think kicks ass in this movie and is really disturbing.
It makes sense that you like it, because ultimately what I said to Robert first thing after watching it is, this feels like a current day full moon feature.
In a lot of ways.
Absolutely feels like what a full moon movie would be.
The acting is not very good, unfortunately.
Like I said, full moon feature.
Full moon 100%. Yeah, I mean, beyond Puppet Master 2 and like those Oblivion Western films,
the first really Castle Freak was good.
Castle Freak was good. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, this is the kind of thing that I'm waiting for Joe Bob to do on his on his show on Shudder, and just kind of playfully make fun of it, but also give it some credit, because it's got a lot of interesting ideas. It's still one of the most unique films that I've seen in the last few years as far as horror goes.
Yeah.
But I really, really like it. I would not go as far as to say that I love it, but it's all about the payoff, and it's all about the symbolism of addiction. and I think that's why I enjoy it as much as I do, having struggled with different things myself. You know,
I mean, we can flash forward. We touched on the acting. It's not the strongest.
It's not. It's not.
The
And our
filming
lead
is very-
especially, I don't
yeah.
really like him very much,
No,
man.
I didn't
you
like
know,
him
I
very
feel like
much
everybody
either.
else around him was significantly better, and most notably the girlfriend, the best friend,
Mm-hmm.
Even the whores at the weird
The
place.
best friend,
I
who
went to.
who was played by the guy that did Deputy Dewey or
Yeah.
Deputy Doofy in
Was that-
Scary Movie.
Was that him?
Yes.
Damn,
Yeah.
I did not realize that. Interesting. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, playing it very straight in this in that
Yeah.
regard.
So yeah, the acting is nothing to write home about. Although it's mainly the lead that fails in that regard. The
Yeah.
filmmaking, again, it feels like a full moon feature. It does not feel very inspired as far as that goes.
I like the opening and the closing with like the fashioning of said box and everything.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
that
well,
was-
that's just close-ups.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're like, it's not that difficult.
Slow motion
dude.
close-ups.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
You can tell we're dancing around this movie because it's one that if it's spoiled for you, it's not gonna be.
I mean,
satisfying.
there's a dude who basically his girlfriend, they suspect, he and his best friend suspect his girlfriend of having cheated on him.
Yep.
And so his best friend basically convinces him to try and cheat on his girlfriend, and the only way he
Go
can
to this
convince him to do
whorehouse,
it is to go to this whorehouse and give him the special where he's put into this room and there's just a box with a hole in it, and he's intended to use the hole. He uses the hole, and he basically gets obsessed with the hole after that.
Yeah.
And he steals the box, and what happens after that point is the crux of the film.
And that's
So,
where the whole drug comparison that I was
Yes.
making makes sense, because of the fact that his friend is like, nope, you just do it once, you don't want to, because you will get obsessed and you'll just want to do it over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And
it
that's
affects
where
his
the-
love life, it
yeah.
affects his family, it affects his
escalation.
best friend, all of that stuff. So,
Yeah, so
the
that's
story
about
is
all we
pretty
can say.
straightforward. Effects wise, again, the effects are very basic until you get to the
end.
last third of the film, and then
the
it
end.
starts. You see this pulsating gooey thing, and I don't want to ruin what it is or anything. And then the very end,
I got some brain
the
damage
body
vibes a little
horror
bit.
effects really kick in, right? This is a body horror film ultimately throughout.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he slowly gets a rash that slowly builds and builds and builds.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right, it's on his stomach.
yeah, and it
everything.
grows up his
Yeah.
body basically. And so yeah, it is a body horror film, and it just, the landing that it sticks is an amazing landing, but it's not a
Will you at
landing that
least agree
justifies.
that the ending kicks ass in this movie?
Oh, I think everyone should watch the first 10 minutes and the last 15 minutes of this film.
Yeah.
Or the first 10 minutes and last 10
There
minutes.
needs to be a fan edit where they just chop it down.
Honestly, that's all that you need. Like, it would be like a wonderful 20-minute, not wonderful, but a
The end
really
is where they spent their
good.
budget, for sure,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, for sure. And it's disturbing, and you're like, oh, but why would still, like, oh, I don't get it ultimately, but still I get it. Because, where does the special goo come from all of a sudden? And does that mean that
It's a
because it
cyclical-
happens, you
it's
become
cyclical, yeah.
you become a willing participant in said act, where you just
I don't know if there's anything willing, but
like,
yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, we can't really say too much more, unfortunately, without like dancing around spoilers. So.
Exactly. So yes, I do think that if you want to watch the film, watch the first 10 minutes and the last 15 minutes, and that's the best way to approach it. Skip the middle, assume what happens. He ruins all of his relationships because of this thing, and then when you find out what the thing is in the last 15 minutes, that's what makes the film worth it. So just go to that.
Yeah, I would disagree, but hey, the middle portion is that collateral damage, as I mentioned earlier.
I think
And
even
that's-
Sam would agree that that's the best parts of the movie, and that it drags in the middle.
Oh,
He's not,
I even agree. You know, that it's all about the payoff in this particular movie once it finally gets there, and it's very satisfying. But
Yeah.
hey, there
the
you go.
exact opposite of the movie we're going to review next.
Oh
so,
boy.
Anyway, that's going to do it. Thank you again for recommending the film, Sam. I had heard about this from Fuego, as a matter of fact, and I had wanted to give it a try, so I'm glad that you gave me a reason to give it a try. Thank you very much for doing so.
I think we discussed it during the year-end roundup of that particular year. I was trying to put in honorable mentions, and you were like, "Shut up with your honorable mentions, asshole."
Probably.
Yeah.
Sounds like me. So, all right. That's going to do it, though. I think the next one is Sam's request, too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is, too, if I'm not mistaken.
It's been a minute since I've watched
So
that
yeah,
one, too.
we'll be there in just a minute, but thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do.
Most def.
We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And Grassy Sippin' Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.